Hello, my name is Grace Mann, Program Assistant here at Queens Public Library. This past spring, QPL collaborated with Brooklyn Public Library, Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, and New York Public Library to produce the Anthem to Us project. Paying homage to the anthem genre, 100 participants embarked on an immersive writing workshop series across the three boroughs. Outstanding song lyrics emerged from the workshops. 3 applicants advanced to craft a final composition, and one anthem was chosen as the winner. I'm delighted to present our virtual interview with the winner of the Anthem to Us project, Jessie Tomsko, who participated in the workshops at QPL's Langston Hughes branch. The interview will be conducted by singer-songwriter and Anthem to Us instructor Rebecca McCartney. And before we dive in, we'd like to start with a short video about the project.
Anthem to Us has been a months-long project bringing together writers, poets, lyricists from across the city to write a new anthem that speaks of hope and perseverance.
Let our soul have our fill.
Tonight's concert is the Anthem to Us finale. 3 finalist songs are going to be premiered here tonight.
Lies at its foundation.
My anthem is called We Are Us, and what I wanted to do was take some of those foundational texts of our country, one nation, we the people, and sort of reimagine that for who we are now and to center that in joy.
Together we stand, I am us, he's us.
My anthem is called Big Country. I strongly feel that there's a lot more common ground that people are not seeing. Big country, so much to give, enough for all of us.
Big country, spacious sky, and earth cradling our soul.
My anthem is called Let Them Fly. I was very inspired by the idea of, in this country, you can wave any flag that you like. So I believe that the themes that kind of pervade my anthem are themes of hope and inspiration and coming together.
And of many, let each one sing.
I have been coming to Lincoln Center since I was in college. To have my music, my words, and my voice filling this space is super surreal, and it's a dream come true.
Let them fly, let them
Hi, everyone, and hi, Jessie. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Hi, Rebecca.
How are you
Delighted.
doing?
I'm so great. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to chat with you again because we haven't been able to sit down and talk since our workshops. So this is so cool.
Yeah, it's so nice to reconnect. We had our workshop series just a few months ago at the Langston Hughes Library, and seeing you here, I mean, just a few weeks ago, I got to see you on stage performing that incredibly powerful piece of work that you wrote and completed through our workshop series, and then finally capped off the process by performing on stage at Lincoln Center. It was an incredible experience to be there in the audience for that. And I was beaming. I felt so in awe of you and so proud of the process we had gone through together. So I'd love to start out this interview just by hearing a little bit more about you and your background, your personal journey as a lyricist, and how you landed in this Anthem to Us project.
Yeah. Well, I have been writing lyrics and songs and poetry since I was a little kid. My first publication was my first grade literary magazine when I wrote
Of course.
poems about stars and seasons. So I've always been a writer, and I've been a singer-songwriter for probably like 20 years at this point. And over the past like 5-6 years, I've moved into writing for theater, musical theater, lyrics, music, and libretto. And then this project in particular, I saw the ad for it in January. And I think I was riding high on my like New Year's resolutions. And I was like, I'm going to put my work out there. I'm going to just submit for everything I find.
Yep.
And I saw this ad like third or fourth week of January on Instagram. And I just thought it sounded so cool. Just the writing prompt itself, I thought was so interesting. I'd never thought about anthem writing before, but I'm always looking for new inspiration for writing, and I love to try new things and meet and work with new people. And so I just thought it would be a really fantastic opportunity. And I obviously was, when I, read the brief and I saw that the finalists would collaborate with composers and would get their work performed at Lincoln Center, I thought, well, gosh, that sounds so cool. But I had no thought of definitely not winning and not making it to the finalist stage. It was more just about the act of submitting and just sharing my work and hopefully being invited to the workshops.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you did, because now we've gone through all of this. I think we started in April, and you must have submitted a few months before that. And we're talking today at the end of July. It's really amazing to get to look back at becoming a part of a process that neither of us, I think, had any idea really what we were going to be getting into when we walked into that first workshop together, and when you responded to the Instagram ad. And I remember being reached out to become an instructor, and I was so excited and uncertain of how the whole thing would look. So it's great that we get to now, with our retrospective vision, look at what we made together. So I want to talk a little bit more about this workshop series. You and I met in a group of about 8 to 10 Queens dwellers over a few weeks in April, and a lot of values finding activities and creative writing prompts, trying to get the juices flowing. A big part of what I remember doing together was just creating a space where we could be vulnerable with one another. I remember talking with you about how rare it is to be in a room of near strangers, complete strangers, and be expected to dive into this vulnerability and storytelling exercises together. It was special for me to try to shape that and then to be a part of it with everyone. Can you talk a little bit about what those workshops were like for you, or anything that you remember from them?
Yeah, those workshops have been such a highlight of my year, and in a year that's been really great. Well, we're halfway through the year now, and it's been an awesome year. And those 3 weeks of workshops were a true highlight of this year. And I had so much fun. I looked forward to them every week. So one of the things that I loved, having no expectations of what it was going to be like. I loved, a couple days before our first workshop, you sent a prompt and you said, bring an object of significance, personal significance, that you're going to show and tell with the room. And I thought, this is going to be cool. This is not what I've been expecting. But I was intrigued by that immediately. And then when we got there, everyone was kind of shy, and it was sort of like a, oh, hi. Yeah. And it was kind of like everyone was nervous. And then within moments, you had us break into groups and start to get to know the person you were partnered with, a little bit about their life story and what brought them there today. And then you had us, to make sure we were really tuned in and listening, you had us then turn to the group and introduce our partners to the group, as opposed to just talking about ourselves for a while. And so right away, that communal awareness was turned on, and we had to immediately begin engaging with these people who were at the time strangers. And then that turned into generating spontaneous poetry, not about our objects, but about their objects that they had brought in. And it was not what I expected at all. And I just loved it. And it was like right away, you kind of fostered this group participatory spirit, which is truly at the heart of anthem writing and anthem performance. So I thought that really set the tone so beautifully for the entire course. And then we progressed from there, and it was a beautiful jumping off point. And I just loved over the next 3 weeks how we did exercises that, just like you said, unlocked the creativity, got us writing. And I love that we didn't really even start drafting our anthems until kind
Right.
of toward the end of the second class,
Right.
which was so cool because that kept me just like pondering and marinating on things for a couple of weeks. And so when I finally came to my first draft, I was kind of already like in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember you coming to the third session, and I had asked everyone to bring in, 1 to 2 stanzas of a draft, and I sat down with you and you had it there on the page. You had essentially what became word for word your final anthem of Let Them Fly. And I remember reading it through with you and just feeling like, okay, I think this all came out in one batch for a reason because it's so powerful on the page there.
But then
Um,
you had some fabulous feedback, and you were a wonderful sounding board because I did bring you
mm,
my first draft. And
right.
one thing you said that I was able to work with was you said, can you just incorporate a little bit more imagery of like flag waving,
Mm,
some sort of like carrying, holding, hoisting? And I was like, oh, I love that. And just
yeah,
like little subtle shifts I was able to then work in, thinking about that image of like lifting each other up and
right.
carrying each other. And so that was I thought that was a very helpful bit of feedback that you gave.
I mean, you had such a clear vision, it seemed, of once this was on the page, it was just like, I see where this needs. I see where I think we all see how we can fit into this and feel
Mm,
from it. I'd love to take a look at the lyrics a bit and
yeah,
maybe have you talk about how any particular line came to you or just in the process of creating this final product. What's
sure.
the story of this anthem? Yeah, thanks for showing me through it.
um, So the first line, so first of all, I want to say when I approach like a writing session, I almost always have been percolating and marinating on things before I go into an actual
Mm,
to like sit down and write. And I get a lot of ideas when I'm doing anything else other than writing. I get a lot of ideas when I'm in the shower or when
yep.
I'm out for a walk or just like buying groceries. And then I just like run home and try to get them down before I forget them.
Yeah.
But this
Mhm.
particular first line, in this land of freedom, let all be free, popped into my head when I was out grocery shopping about like maybe 2 weeks into our sessions.
Mm,
And I almost wrote it off because I was like, ugh, that's way too simple. That's silly. It's like I'm stating something twice, doesn't make sense.
mm,
So I kind of like pushed it out of my brain and thought I can do better than that as a way in. But it kept coming back to me.
yeah,
And because it is a very simple statement, but I think it kind of packs a lot. Um,
absolutely. I think
and
we're
so
reaching like
yeah.
the tension of the promise of what this country is and what our
Mm.
values are stated to be. And then we're also looking at the lived experience and how that can differ, how there can be such a
Oh,
massive disparity of experiencing the values that we say we're trying to live out. And that's
100%.
all there in that first line.
100%. And so I thought maybe that actually is the way into it. And then I realized what I wanted each stanza to be was just like my wish or my prayer
Mm,
for what I want for everyone and what I in turn want for myself. These very simple
yeah.
statements that I think are kind of accessible and we all understand them, but they can also feel kind of epic and timeless too.
Mm,
Um, and so I kind of just like went from that in this land of blah, blah, blah. Let us all do this. Let us all like, please, let us all have this.
yeah.
Let us all have health. Let us have, the chance to dream and to be and to learn. And so I
Yeah.
just kind of went from there.
Let's take a look at the second slide of lyrics, maybe. Yeah,
Mm,
I see these values, we're thinking about like, what do we want our lives to look like? And what do we want this communal fabric and this social bringing together? What do we want to stand for? And I
yeah.
love the tone that you've taken here in terms of let us all have this. It's proclaiming this is what we want and it's not a tone of begging or asking or complaining but it's
Yeah.
speaking it into existence in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't want it to feel negative. I'm a glass half full kind of
Yeah.
person. Um, maybe it's a little naive sometimes, but I really am. And I wanted the words to feel really hopeful and really positive in spite of everything. I just really wanted to focus on what's good and the things that I love. And so as I was going through each stanza, I kind of had these little like 2-line, little kind of rhyming couplets, I guess. And then I wanted to bring them together with the last 2 line of every stanza feeling like it's coming back to one theme. And so I don't know what made me think of it. I guess I just kind of was thinking about our national anthem and how we all kind of we look to this flag as a symbol of freedom, and that's the main symbol in our current national anthem, and in many national anthems, I think. And so it got me thinking about holding up flags and the kinds of flags that we hold up. And as soon as I began thinking about that, I started seeing flags everywhere, like every corner, in front of apartments, people throwing flags over their balconies for anything you can think of. And I realized you can hold up a flag for anything, whether it's a political cause you believe in, a humanitarian cause, a school, a community, a sports team, a country that you are loyal to other than this country. And all of those flags are kind of protected under our larger flag. And you can even do something that is considered, quote unquote, un-American. And even that is protected under the American flag, and I think that is a beautiful thing.
It's an amazing testament too, I think, to experiencing life in New York, where we have so many different backgrounds represented, and especially in Queens, just thousands of languages spoken and represented on every corner and every kind of food. Just walking around, you can see, hundreds of different countries' flags. And think about how many stories are contained in that.
Yes. I walk down the block and I'll hear 10 different languages as I'm walking down the street. And I just think that's one of my favorite things about living where I live. And it also, it speaks to my own history too. All my ancestors came through Ellis Island about 100 to 120 years ago. And my husband is from Ireland, and he's also, American, and he's fiercely Irish. And I just think that this is a place where you can be all those things.
Yeah, right. And where we want to create a space where you can be all of those things, and that we're a part of creating that. Yeah. Is there any line in this third page that sticks out to you that?
Yeah, I would say first, probably my favorite line in the whole piece is actually on the previous slide.
We can go back.
Yeah, the last two. May we each raise our own flag, hold it high in peace and in memory of every battle cry. That's my favorite in the whole piece, because it was something that we talked about in our workshops when we were analyzing the lyrics of our national anthem. And we were kind of picking out phrases and words that jumped out to us. And we noticed there's a lot of like kind of violent imagery. Bomb bursting and rockets. And I understand it was written in a very different time, and it was a unifying, they were unifying words at the time. And I understand the pride and the loyalty that comes with that. But it made me think about all the battles, all the fighting, all the strife that has come before and is still very much present now. And just wanting to kind of like look at it a little differently, like these battles that were fought, they have led to us being able to hold up a flag now in peace and have like respect for what's come before, and understanding and respect for what is happening now, but still kind of striving for peace and striving for just a better society, I suppose. Anyway,
I think
that's why I love those 2 lines.
I love that too. And I think memory also plays a huge part here, because we're trying to, I think you're cueing us into understanding not only the history of battle and violence outside of our country and within it, but just the memory of how we haven't lived up to, we don't live up to our values on a national level and in our interpersonal lives all the time. So how can we remember that and then bring peace forward?
Yeah, it's difficult conversation for sure. But
Right.
I was just, yeah, trying to kind of capture that in a few words. And then if we go to the last slide, the line that I really like is that you carry me and I'll carry you. And this was directly, I wrote this directly from what you and I talked about when you said, could you bring in more images of lifting flags and carrying? And I had a couple drafts where I had like just talked about literally like more carrying flags, and I was like fighting with exactly the way I wanted to phrase it. And then I just thought, well, it should be this metaphorical feeling of we're carrying each other. I just really like that line a lot.
It's
And then our
beautiful.
differences let us unify. I do like all that a
Yeah.
lot.
And then we come back to this kind of encapsulating image of Let Them Fly, which, as we now talk a little bit more about the composition process, because you finished this set of lyrics with the hope that this was going to be paired with, that you could be paired with a composer, and then build this into a full song. Yeah, thanks. But at this point, it was just a set of lyrics with a hope for what kind of song could spring from here. So you got to be paired with an incredible duo of composers. You had Martha Redbone and Aaron Whitby. Could you tell me, like, did you know of these people beforehand, and what was the process like working with them? How did this song come to be from a page?
I did not know of them before, but as soon as I researched who they were, I was floored and so excited. These are Drama Desk award-winning composers. Like Martha and Aaron have done so much that I was kind of floored that I had not ever been introduced to their music before. I was sort of like, how has this escaped my attention all these years? It's phenomenal. Anyway, so when I submitted the lyrics, I had no concept musically what it would sound like, and I intentionally didn't. I think you had said when we were submitting there was an option to include some audio music. I thought about that, but I was like, you know what, I kind of want to just let the lyrics go. I don't want to have any preconceived notions of what this might sound like, which was kind of hard because I am a composer,
right?
And so it was.
I can imagine separating that brain from itself is tough.
It was a cool experience to just write lyrics. I actually have never done this before, just written lyrics and then passed them on to someone else to write music. But when I saw that they were going to do it, I had no qualms whatsoever. And I was like, some people said to me, I told a few of my friends and my family that I was doing this thing, and they were like, are you nervous that you're not going to like what they write? And I 100% truthfully said, no, I'm not at all. I trust that it's going to be perfect. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be something that I myself would never think of writing. So I was really excited to get their musical experience on it. And so when we first met, we had a Zoom session, Martha and Aaron and I, and they told me that they had chosen the lyrics. They were given a set of lyrics, and this is a really cool story. They were at the time in 2 different countries. Aaron was overseas in the UK, and they took the lyrics with them, and they decided to read them and rank them all separately, and then come together and see what they had both kind of ranked as their top, and they both chose this one as their first. And so they were like, well, I guess we're doing this one.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
It was really cool. And so we had a little Zoom session, and I was kind of starstruck and just honored to work with them. And then they invited me to their home in Brooklyn, and they played me the first draft of it, which was, we just sat around their piano with their dog, and they sang it, and I was just jaw on the floor. I was like, you did it.
At that point, did it resemble the final product of what it turned into at all?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely. There was some phrasing things we were playing with, and we did have to change around some of the words just to kind of help with the rhythm and the cadence and the melody when it was climbing, and just making things fit, but it was mostly intact. And then we had to shift around some of the final stanza to keep the last line kind of the same.
The flow.
The flow, exactly. But it was pretty much that first day when I left their place, it was kind of intact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And one of the things that I love about what emerged in this composition is the refrain of "Let Them Fly," which we hear in the set of lyrics, but by the end of hearing the song all together, it's just you walk away wanting to keep singing it, and you understand all of the imagery and all of the meaning that's encapsulated in that phrase. But by
Mhm.
the end, having you stand on the stage at Lincoln Center with this beautiful chorus of musicians singing "Let Them Fly" over and over again, I think there's so much gravity in it,
Yeah.
and hope, and I felt that being a part of the audience there.
That's really
Just
cool.
everyone was living inside of that phrase,
That's so
"Let Them
cool,
Fly."
and what's so funny about that too is when I finished the final stanza, the final version of lyrics before I submitted, I was, like, reading them through to my husband, and he
Mhm.
said he was like, "Wouldn't it be cool if, like, at the end, you just repeated, 'Let them fly, let them fly'?"
Mm,
And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that would be really cool, I love that. We'll see what the composers like, if I get picked, what they end up doing."
yeah,
And, like, that was, I think, one of Martha's, like, earlier ideas. She was like, "I wanna repeat, 'Let
amazing.
them fly, and build it, build it, build it.'" And so that
Well, it's
was
a
super
testament
cool.
to how you wrote, even without a melody in mind, just how you wrote something that was so ready to be picked up by music
Pretty
and
cool,
lifted
yeah.
up by music, so
Just
it's
never
great.
expected I never expected that this would happen, and I like I said, when I submitted, I never thought was, like, thinking, "Oh, that's, in the realm of
Yeah,
possibility." It really wasn't, I just was
yeah.
submitting to submit.
Well, how amazing that then it all happened. It all happened.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm so proud of, the way that you worked through this process and getting to know you through this.
Mm.
And I'd love to talk a little bit more about what that final performance looked like. And we know this is not the end of the life for the anthem because now it'll grow and live with us. But tell me about this final Anthem to Us concert in Lincoln Center. I was sitting on the side with the instructors and participants. Yeah, I'd love to look through some of these photos. And what was this like for
Oh,
you?
man. Well, first of all, I was never gonna be one of the singers. I was fully
Oh,
prepared to just sit there and watch it, and then we went into a
oh my God.
rehearsal, and it was, in the city, it was just me and Martha and Aaron, we were just, like, playing through stuff one day, and I just, like, sang it just to, like, mark through
Mhm.
it, and, and Martha was like she was like, "Well, you need to do one of the verses. Take the last verse." And I was like, "Really?" Like, I really didn't plan on that. So that was really amazing that
Wow.
she and Aaron suggested that,
There you are
and
in the blue
yeah.
dress. Yeah, it was
So,
amazing.
yeah, we brought in, Vuyo, who came into the rehearsal, and that's Vuyo in the center.
Yeah.
And what was so
Who's
cool about
incredible.
incredible.
Yeah.
What was
Incredible.
so
Yeah.
cool about that final arrangement when we came into rehearsal was, like, so Vuyo and then Martha and myself, we have 3 very different voices, and
Mm.
so we decided to accommodate each of our voices, we would do each verse in a different key, and we would start in B flat, then
Mhm.
go to B for Martha, then go to C for myself, and,
Mm.
my first reaction was like, "Is this gonna sound good? I don't know," like a sudden modulation after every verse, and it ended
Right.
up being awesome because
All half steps. Yeah.
it just ended up, like, amping up the energy each time in a
Totally.
way that I never thought would work, and somehow it really worked well.
It's funny, I
Um
didn't even remember that in my memory of this performance, but now that you bring it to my attention, I'm like, "Oh, yeah." And then
Yeah.
they kept lifting up and modulating, and I think it almost doubled down on the meaning in each verse just in terms of like, "Nope,
Yes.
we really believe in this." Yeah.
Exactly, and it was purely just to accommodate the different vocals, but it
Yeah.
ended up working so well, and
I love that.
yeah, I love that. So that day, oh gosh, like when it was a very long day because we had to be there at like 2 p.m. to start doing the
Mhm.
line checks, and then we did a full run of the show and went like queue to queue, and it was also like 100 degrees that day.
Yeah, it was 95 or something, yeah, wild,
Kind of surprised I
wild.
don't look more sweaty and shiny in the video, but anyway, but by the end of the day, I was so amped, and I just sat backstage the whole time watching, and I was just in awe of all these incredible musicians. The whole program was
Mm,
just beautiful, and hearing the other anthems, it just felt really magical. And then they put this song second to last, and by the time it was time to, walk out, when they introduced me as the winner, I truly felt like I was kind of having a weird, like, out of body experience. I felt like I was kind of like floating onto the stage. It was so strange and but cool.
Yeah.
And I was at that point I was oddly not nervous at all. I
Yeah.
was just so excited. I think because I'd been there for like 8 hours at that point. I was
Right.
just I wasn't
And
nervous.
you're delusional from heat and just
That too, I was having heat stroke. Yeah.
right, exactly.
No, it was yeah, I
Which
was just so
paid actress.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I was so ready. I was so pumped and I didn't feel nervous. I was just so excited to be out there and I just couldn't wait to sing. And yeah,
Yeah.
it felt great to be up there with these people that I've come to know and love. And it was unforgettable.
It was an unforgettable performance for all of us watching.
Oh, that picture's so great there. I haven't seen that one.
Amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, and we can just imagine the thousands of people in the audience. They're just all kind of looking up in awe and being brought into this anthem together. God, that's an amazing picture.
Cool.
Wow. And
Martha and Aaron there are the coolest.
Yeah, I mean, but the whole thing together just blew me away, and you being a part of it on stage, I think was really important to that. Because we were watching it all come together, and you're such an incredible performer that I'm really
thank
glad it worked
you.
out this way.
I was honored that they asked me to sing the last verse.
Mm,
It's really cool.
yeah, it was beautiful, and you really did an amazing job. Wow,
so
great pictures. I'd love to zoom out a little bit and think about through this whole process, thinking you coming in as a songwriter and writing a lot for musical theater and never having written in this genre of anthem before. What do you feel like you learned about an anthem? And how did that change and develop and come to a close with your final piece at the end?
I think when I first came to the prompt of it, and I don't think I'd ever really thought about anthems before.
Right.
Like ever.
I mean, we don't think about it that much in general.
And
Yeah.
I was a music major in college.
Yeah.
I just don't think I ever thought about it. And in fact, if ever thinking about anthems, I suppose my first image is something of something very stuffy and stiff and kind of uninteresting. I don't know why that's my was my default in thinking about it initially. And my perception of that has changed completely throughout this process. And I no longer think of an anthem as this stiff, dusty thing.
Right.
I think an anthem or an anthemic song is alive and it's vibrant and it makes you want to get up and sing. And it's made me very aware of songs that I know quite well that are actually rather anthemic.
Right.
And I
remember a moment in our workshop series when we all got together and sang "I Will Survive" by Gloria Gaynor.
Yes.
Which was great. It was, age range from 20 something to 80, and we're all singing "I Will Survive" with karaoke lyrics on screen.
Well, exactly that kind of moment got me thinking about what an anthem is, and it should be something that makes you want to just dive in and feel this communal joy. And it got me thinking about it just a few weeks back when the Euro Cup was on, right? All these fans chanting, and those are anthems,
Right.
It's whatever kind of brings people together. And so I think my whole perception of what an anthem or an anthemic song has completely changed. And I just feel I have a lot more awareness, and I have more appreciation for what an anthem can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think at its most base level, just being able to sing together and create community around a shared verse and a shared value is so powerful. And one of the things that excites me most about how this whole process turned out is that I think your anthem is going to stand in history, and at least in my life, and for all the people who were at that concert. And hopefully we have so many more opportunities to get the song out there, because it really has that effect of bringing people together and ca- prompting us to all think about memory and history and
Mhm.
values and how we want to create something more just in the future
Yeah.
and in our lives.
That's so
Yeah.
nice. And my hope is that people, can hear the lyrics or read them and they feel like it resonates with them. And it sort of is like
Mm,
a reminder that I think change has to start from within, right? And it all starts
absolutely.
with the individual and the
Right.
choices and the changes that we make in our daily lives and how that can radiate out.
Right. Right. We have so many levels of enacting this and affecting this change, from the interpersonal to the systemic,
Mhm.
and it really is all available to us if we
Yeah,
put ourselves there.
absolutely.
Wow, it's so great to talk with you, and I'd love to
Oh,
hear a
me
little bit more
too.
about what, with this project coming to a close and that final performance, what's next for you? What are you working on? What kind of creative projects are on your docket?
Well, I have a couple original musicals in the works that are kind of my main thing right now, my
Mhm.
creative outlet. And yeah, I've 4 pieces that are in varying stages of development.
Mm,
One has gotten a lot of great traction this year. It was in a couple of festivals and won some awards. And there's some very exciting things coming up next year that I don't think I can talk about. But
Ooh.
I don't want to say anything about it yet because but
Yeah, of
I
course.
do feel like there is some very exciting stuff in the works and the wheels are turning and I have a lot of high hopes for my work for the next like year or so.
Yeah,
So
so amazing.
thank you.
Well, where can we find all of these updates for you and stay in touch?
People can go to my website. People can also find me on Instagram. Yep, there it is. Instagram is
Amazing.
at Jessie Tomsko. And from there are links to my other projects as well.
Amazing. Well, I for one can't wait to keep in touch with you and also watch
Same.
all of your projects glowing, and yeah, it's just been such a pleasure for me to get to know you through this process and be around while this anthem was coming to be, and then to finally watch the performance in Lincoln Center was so spectacular. So thank you for your
Thank you.
involvement and for all of your thoughtfulness and commitment to really seeing this through. It's been amazing to watch.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Your workshops were truly phenomenal. And I
Oh,
felt like you opened my eyes to new ways of just generating and creating and thinking about things differently. And you're a really excellent teacher.
wow. Oh, that means
I
a lot.
really loved it.
I'm so glad, and I'm so lucky that we got to be a part of this through QPL and public programming and artistic programming that's open
Ugh,
to the public. It's so important
so important. We
for
love
both
it.
of us. Yeah, we love it. All right, well, Jesse, I think that's it for now. So great to reconnect, and can't wait to see where things go from here.
Thank you
Let
so,
them
so much.
fly.
Let them fly, baby.
Let
Thank
them
you.
fly.
In this land of freedom, let all be free to dream, to learn, to do, to be. In this land of plenty, let us all have our fill, that we may live and love as we will. May we raise our own flag, let it fly. For loyalty, pride, for injustice defied. In this land of riches, let all have health and ever treasure the commonwealth. In this land of labor, may we toil for good, and through understanding
to